So let's first look up the definition of the word radical, because I want you all to really get what I mean when I say like do something radical. So radical means relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, right? Far-reaching or thorough. So when I say do something radical, do something that will fundamentally affect your nature. Like do something radical. Like if you want to transform your health, do something radical. I don't work out today. And then you're like, Monday morning, 6 a.m., I'm walking 3 miles. I'm doing that 4 times a week, no matter what. That's radical. And then you wake up Monday and you do it. And no matter how you feel Wednesday morning, you wake up Wednesday morning and you do it. And then you wake up Friday morning and you do it. And then you wake up Saturday morning and you do it. And you check off week 1 down, week 2 starts Monday. And then you do it. That's radical. Because you basically fundamentally shift something. That's radical. Radical action. That's what I mean. You're doing something, and by the way, you've been thorough. You did it completely. That's what I mean when I say radical action. Do something radical. So in the case of Rebecca, I was like, do something radical, like get up, drive to the office. If you have to sleep there all night, you sleep there, or you get a hotel, like that's radical. But I'm ensuring that I do it completely. That's radical.
Change up the things you see. Open your mind to possibilities. Find your power, passion, and your purpose. You know it's time for you to walk in greatness. Let's murder mediocrity. Slay your goals, live out your dreams. Right now. Inspiration and perspective. Open your mind to a better life. It's time to live a dream. Your purpose now. Inspiration and perspective. Let's slay your goals.
What I wanted to do was a mid-year check-in. I wanted to check in on the listeners. Like, how are you all doing? What's on your mind? And because I fully believe that my purpose is to help myself and others live the best life possible, like how might I be of support this morning to you based on what's going on? So the phone lines are open, 773-591-1690. If, in fact, someone needs support. And I'm sure when you say this, people are like, well, I'm not about to call in with my problems, et cetera, you know. And it's like, well, change your name then. But get the support. And I also know that there's lots of resistance to getting support. I know this because in the Slay Your Goals community, one of the most powerful parts or powerful things that people can get out the community is being coached. And so when you look at a community that has hundreds of members that I would say like maybe 10 to 20% join, when we do connect, different people join at different times, and I get why people can't make it all the time. And a lot of people watch the recordings, so I get that too. And at the same time, the premier value of that membership is that you get coached. Like you have an opportunity to get coached by an executive coach that works with CEOs and multimillionaires. Like you have that opportunity at $37 a month. Like I don't know that you can find that anywhere else. And by the way, people still like, oh, I can't make it. They cancel. Oh, I can't afford it. And it's one of the reasons I want to do a check-in. How are you? Like, how are you? And where could you use some level of support? Now, let me contrast that with how quickly the lines will blow up if I was like, let's talk about Thursday night. Right? And I want you to notice how as human beings, it's very easy to talk about somebody else or something else. And that, by the way, has some level of impact on us. But let's be clear, like not as much as you think. And the reason I say not as much as you think, because you are the captain of your life. Like you are responsible for what happens to you in this life. Not President Biden, not President Trump, not whomever gets elected, but you. And so when I pose a question to the listeners, and I mean, we have thousands and thousands of listeners at any given time, right, Titus? I mean, on Sunday morning. And I pose the question to the listeners that, hey, what do you need? This is like, that's a tough question because most of us, I honestly believe, are operating with our heads in the sand, like fairly unconsciously in terms of what's going on around us. And we're not really clear on what we need, because if we were, we'd be getting it. And we would be sourcing ourselves in a way that would shift how we're living. So I could share a whole lot of alarming information. I did that Thursday night with the Slayer Goals members. And I think, that's good radio. The shock value. Oh, my God. Can you believe this? The research. I get to tell you, like I always tell you, don't believe me. Go check it out for yourself. Right? And then you go check it out for yourself and you're like clutching your pearls. This is true. Right? I could do all that. But I'm also really curious and interested. And I will. Let's be clear. Like I will. If it's not this Sunday, I mean, the information's here. Right? But I'm also very curious how you're doing, the listener. Give me a phone call. Like 2024 hasn't been the easiest year. Nothing like 2020, but we're dealing with the aftermath, inflation. Like we're dealing with the aftermath of all the free money. We're dealing with the aftermath of, all the credits. We're dealing with the aftermath of a lot of decisions that were made. Some of us are dealing with the aftermath of personal decisions we've made. Some of us are dealing with the aftermath of the relationships that broke down in 2020 because it showed us things that we didn't know. And that's why I'm asking, like, how are you? Like, how are you? The other piece that I'm really curious about is how we're doing financially. Because it's interesting, the contrast between what I notice with people who are somewhat financially well off and then those who are struggling. I'm going to give you an example. So I have a colleague, and him and I were talking, and he was complaining, like, man, I got hard money loans out. They're defaulting. I had 2 hard money, one at $250,000, one at $300,000. They're defaulting. My wife is upset because they're not paying. We're trying to figure out what we're going to do. At the same time, this same person, like all his properties are paid off, right? So these are his money problems. You get where I'm going? All his properties are paid off. All his vehicles are paid off. Like he don't have no bills. He's just upset that the hard money loan ain't coming through and he's not, he can sue and he'll get his money back. You feel me? But maybe. But my point is, like, that's okay. That's a big money problem. And then there's some of us who are trying to figure out, like, for real, like, how I'm gonna make it this week financially. And I'm asking how we're doing because I believe that there's an answer, there's an answer to every problem, right? And if I can do anything to support you, then I'm willing. The other thing I think about is also what's going on in most of our workplaces. If you're an entrepreneur, had the conversation last week in regards to generative AI and how that's changing everything. If you're an employee, same thing. But we're really at I would say a making point. Like something is being generated right now it's really gonna dictate how we work, where we work over the next 4 to 5 years, if we work. And when I say if we work, I'm thinking about some of the roles and jobs that are quickly being replaced and will be replaced. And we talked about that last week. If you missed that, you should check that show out. So I'm thinking about that too. The other thing, when I think about a mid-year check-in, and again, give me a phone call, 773-591-1690. Not one phone call yet. And by the way, I kind of expected this. Like it's, I'm making you become introspective, and you got to get grounded first before you can actually, check in and ask for help. And then here's the other thing, like asking for help is like, let's be clear. I myself walk past people in the store who are like, can I help you with anything? And I have no idea where I'm going. Right? I'm good. And then after I circle the entire store, I finally realized I should have just asked, where do you keep the crazy glue? Simple question. And I'm asking you about your life. Like so I'm clear. I'm very clear. But I wanted to make sure I created the space for a number of reasons. Hopefully, if anything, this first portion of the show has you thinking about what you need. Because I think sometimes we don't even pause to think about that. We just we keep moving. We if you're in financial, straits, or you're experiencing financial stress, like our habits are so hardwired that we don't shift things to say, well, you know what, maybe I shouldn't spend, right? It's like you don't know how to do anything else, and so you continue to do that. And so you stay locked in where you are. And personal transformation is incredibly difficult, and it requires a great deal of intention, like a great deal of intention. And so that's, the second reason. Now, let me share the third reason. And let's see if we're getting some phone calls now. 773-591-1690. The final reason is this past week, I finally completed my ACA journey. Anybody who doesn't know what ACA is, it's adult children of alcoholics. Neither of my parents were alcoholics, but both of them grew up in fairly dysfunctional families, right? I say fairly, like I'm being kind. Like in very dysfunctional families. Let's put it like that. All right. And so basically what they call people who grow up in fairly dysfunctional families, even if your parents were alcoholics, they call it para-alcoholic, right? Where there's some level of intoxication, emotional intoxication that happens because of that dysfunction. And so at the end of 2020, after going through that year, my mom got sick. And I saw her denying her, like what was happening to her physically. Like, I'm okay. It's like, no, you're not. And the first step in ACA is like admitting that you're in denial. And I could see her denial. That was so clear. And it was like, she raised me. And I had been putting ACA off. I don't need that. I'm good. I don't drink. My parents didn't drink. It's kind of like I was using those kind of excuses. And by the way, it's a real commitment, like a real time commitment. So if you have a time context, like I'm busy, which I am, it's like very difficult to say I am going to commit to doing this. But at the end of 2020, I committed to doing it, and it took time. I mean, I'm just finishing 3.5 years later. No, 4. It's been almost 4. 2020 went into 2021, 22, 23. Yeah, 4 years. It took 4.5, almost 4.5 years to complete ACA, 12 steps, 4.5 years for me to complete 12 steps. But the reason I did it is because of the fact that I'm a parent. And I realized if I didn't make that investment, all I was going to do was pass the same dysfunction to my children. Right? And I love them too much to do that. I know that I won't be a perfect parent, but I do believe that having completed ACA, which is the first step of the process, right? I'll go through with someone else as a sponsor, et cetera. But having completed ACA, that at a minimum, it gives my children a shot that I didn't have. And that's why I did it. The other reason I did it is because I want to experience life full out. And one of the things about transformation, Rebecca, I see you. Thanks for calling. I'm going to go to you in a moment. By the way, again, 773-591-1690. If you need any support, mid-year check-in, how you doing? And so the other reason I went through this journey is also because I want to be my absolute best. I want to be the absolute best that I can be. And here's the tricky thing about transformation. What happens for many of us, and I could go through example after example as a life coach and executive coach who's been doing this work for well over a decade. But when we experience transformation, like any kind of transformation, most of us are so overwhelmed by the new possibilities, like, oh my God, like, look who I've become. But we're also so aware of what it took to get there, right? And think of a caterpillar. And I'm stealing this from the book Shambhala. It's a phenomenal book. But what the author talks about in this book is he talks about transformation and why we don't go through continual transformation as human beings. And what he says is when a caterpillar goes into a cocoon, think about a cocoon, like it's restricting and it requires commitment. It requires a certain level of commitment because you have to stay there. Like a caterpillar can't be like, I'm uncomfortable. I'm going to crawl back out. It will never become a butterfly, right? It has to stay there in that discomfort with the commitment. And then when it's time, when it's gone through its complete transformation, it can crawl out of that cocoon as a butterfly. And anybody that knew it before is like, you're unrecognizable. You're beautiful, right? And that's transformation. Well, how do you get a butterfly that's been through that process back into a cocoon? Very difficult. Most people who have who have grown their wings aren't going back in. I'm good. But here's the thing. You haven't reached your potential. Right? You could be even more beautiful. And I've seen this happen with Slay Your Goals members who hit their goals and like, thank you so much, coach, I'm gone. And I'm like, okay. That's cool. This ain't a cult. You can walk out whenever you want to, right? Because, a cult would be like, well, if you leave, here are the consequences. Like they scare you real bad, right? And people be like, oh, you can't ever leave. I just watched that Dancing for the Devil, the TikTok documentary of, these young people who are still in this cult, still in the cult. So it ain't like that. Like you can cancel anytime, right? Ain't nobody gonna, emotionally or mentally abuse you. But here's the thing: when you can, when you can just step away like that, you don't experience the next level of transformation, and it's a bit more difficult to go through the same process again. So a lot of times those members don't come back, even though someone self-admittedly have told me I should have stayed. I did, double my income. I didn't know what to do with that. Right. So now I make more money, but the same financial cycle I was in, I'm in again. So I was broke at 50,000. Now I'm broke at 100,000. So nothing, they made more money, but it required another level of transformation for them to show up different financially, if that makes sense. Okay. So that's the difficulty with transformation. But here's the other part. Most people don't want to go into the cocoon. So when we talk about, like, I can go into this whole conversation of how we're being poisoned, part 3. But in order for you to do something about this, it requires that you transform. So we got Rebecca on the live line. Rebecca, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm not doing that good. I have a meeting I'm supposed to have with the guy that was on your station for Kinetic, where he hypnotizes you.
Okay.
And I wanted him to hypnotize me because I keloid a lot. And I want to see if there's a way that I can help that stop, I mean, because I'll look around, I'll have the smallest little bump, and it'll start to turn into a keloid. And it's very stressful for me to sleep because one of the keloids are really large and it's in the middle of my chest. And when I'm lying down at night, it's torture.
You say you have what in the middle of the chest? I didn't catch that.
Keloids, the scarring tissue.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
And so I've gone to doctors to actually see if they can remove them, but they don't want to because they said it'll get larger.
Yeah. Because it's part of your skin. I mean, it's part of your tissue now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, got you.
So I was supposed to meet with a hypnotist that was on your show, that his name is could be my mind right now. But he was just on your show this week with this. Oh, my goodness.
I think you're thinking about another show.
No, not your show.
Oh, okay. He was on WVON. Okay, got you.
Right,
okay.
Right. That's why I'm trying to think of their name right now.
All right, got you. All right.
But Darlene Neal. And,
okay.
Whatever.
And
Atiba. Right. So they had the guy on, and he was talking about how he had healed his pain when he had a really bad accident, and he just put his card on his chest, and he told them once he arrived, wake me up or whatever, and because he would go into this hypnotic state in order to relieve his own pain. They didn't believe that it was possible. He did it. So I was supposed to meet with him. Well, tossing and turning all night. I'm just now getting up, and I'm supposed to meet with him at 9. I feel so bad. But I know I need this done, and he's so far away from me right now.
So can I break down what I believe is happening for you right now, Rebecca?
Yeah.
Okay. So whenever we set a powerful intention, it will always be met with resistance.
I believe that too.
Okay. So the fact that you didn't sleep well last night, consider that's part of your resistance. Consider that the fact that you're on the phone with me right now is likely part of your resistance. Because what we'll do, and by the way, this is part of what we'll do as human beings. We'll say, well, I had an intention to go see this hypnotist that could potentially transform my life. But I like what Linnell is talking about right now. Maybe he can help me. But that wasn't the intention, Rebecca.
I agree in somewhat. I had already, before I even started listening to you, I had already told him that I already know I can't make it because I'm so tired. I want to go to sleep right now. And I just happened to turn on the radio and heard you. So it was just, I think my whole nervous system, which I can't even say it's just that either, but I wanted to say that it was my nervous system that made me not be able to not have pain, but that doesn't make any sense. It's just that every time I would try to get some sleep because I knew I had to meet him tomorrow, it was like I would get a pain in my chest.
Yeah.
And I would toss this way and I toss that way, and I get up and say, okay, I'm going to exercise so that I can go to sleep. I'm going to do anything so I can go to sleep, because if I don't go to sleep tonight, I won't be able to meet him tomorrow.
Yep.
And no matter what, I just couldn't get any sleep.
Yeah, it's classic resistance. It is, okay. and consider that if this man can potentially transform, or this individual, I don't know if it's a man or woman, but if they can potentially transform what's going on for you, that you're not just going to simply waltz into his office. You're likely going to have to fight tooth and nail all the way to the door. Do you hear me?
I hear you, but I didn't feel that way when it was time for me to go to the actual medical doctor, because I went to the medical doctor on Thursday.
And how'd that go?
With no resistance. He just told me no. He told me he couldn't do it.
Exactly my point. But notice that, Rebecca.
Go ahead.
Notice that. Like, he could do nothing for you. So, of course, there's no resistance.
Yeah, but I didn't know that until I got to the doctor, that he could do nothing for me. I rushed to get there because I thought he could. I had been told that he was a really good doctor, and this is the person that you want to see. And so I was excited to see him. So then when I get there, I wait for him. It takes an hour and a half before I even get to see him. Mm-hmm. So I'm sitting there in that empty room that you do. Mm-hmm. And then when he comes in, he has this look, and he looks at it, and then he goes, "Can't help you."
So do you believe that you have an internal wisdom that knows more than you cognitively can understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay. That internal wisdom, and this is what I mean by one of the gifts we're given is resistance.
Okay.
Consider that it's a gift, and the opportunity is to change your relationship with it. So if you intend to see this hypnotist, and you believe, like, it sounds like your internal wisdom believes that he can support you, because it wouldn't even let you sleep last night. And when I say internal wisdom, there's a part of you that believes that this man can help you, and then there's another part of you that's like, no, we want our life to stay this way. We know how to navigate this. That's your survival mechanism. The survival mechanism doesn't want anything to change, good or bad. It wants everything to stay the same because it knows how to navigate this. There's a part of you that knows how to navigate the life that you currently are living. And there's a part of you that's very comfortable with that. Whether you like it or not, that part is comfortable, and it's going to fight against you if you want to transform anything. Do you believe that?
I believe that.
Okay. That part is what kept you up all night.
I would love to believe that part. The reason why I don't is before I even wanted to meet with him, I was having this same thing all week before I even called him. And not just week, all month, all year. This is a constant, very difficult for me to sleep. So I don't know if I can blame it on that. I would love to say that it was that simple.
Maybe not. Maybe not. So then, if this is your reality, right? Like you have a difficult time sleeping, then you have to play a different game. And let me give you an example of what I mean when I say play a different game. If you believe that this person can help you and you know you don't sleep well, then you have to plan for no sleep. Okay. So drive to the hotel next to their office and already be.
I wish I had did that. Yes. I thought about that when I got up, when I was like walking. I was like, I should have just stayed on the north side and just slept in my car.
But you get where I'm going? Like, you have to play a different game. You can't play the same game and expect to get the same results. So if you have a hard time sleeping and it normally gets in the way of you doing what you need to do the next day, you got to plan for that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It really does, because literally, I'm telling you, I was thinking the same thing after I got so tired. I was like, I'm supposed to be going right now. Now I'm so sleepy. What am I going to do? And it's like, oh, my God, I'm so sleepy. So I went out to the car, sat in the car, and I started falling asleep in the car. I was like, no, I can't drive. I know I can't drive.
Yeah, it's a setup. And so you have to do something radically different if you want your life to go differently, Rebecca.
Right. Exactly.
And so does that support you?
That does support me.
It's very easy for any of us to listen to that conversation and go, like, she don't get it. And what I would say to you is, no. Don't point at Rebecca. Get introspective in terms of where you are doing the exact same thing. Because I promise you, it may not be as dramatic, but it's happening. The same way she put the drama at the end to forget the transformation, like, that is classic. I've seen it like hundreds of times with clients, right? You do that too. I can do it with my coach, right? And we're going to go to break. And here's the other part. If you really want to transform your life, it requires a radically different game, period. Before I go to the other phone calls, I got a question on Facebook where one of the listeners asked, so when you say do something radical, can you give an example? Like do something radical. All right. So let's first look up the definition of the word radical, because I want you all to really get what I mean when I say like do something radical. So radical means relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, right? Far-reaching or thorough. So when I say do something radical, do something that will fundamentally affect your nature. Like do something radical. Like if you want to transform your health, do something radical. I don't work out today. And then you're like, Monday morning, 6 a.m., I'm walking 3 miles. I'm doing that 4 times a week, no matter what. That's radical. And then you wake up Monday and you do it. And no matter how you feel Wednesday morning, you wake up Wednesday morning and you do it. And then you wake up Friday morning and you do it. And then you wake up Saturday morning and you do it. And you check off week 1 down, week 2 starts Monday. And then you do it. That's radical. Because you basically fundamentally shift something. That's radical. Radical action. That's what I mean. You're doing something, and by the way, you've been thorough. You did it completely. That's what I mean when I say radical action. Do something radical. So in the case of Rebecca, I was like, do something radical, like get up, drive to the office. If you have to sleep there all night, you sleep there, or you get a hotel, like that's radical. But I'm ensuring that I do it completely. That's radical.
Okay, what prompted me to call this morning was listening to Rebecca.
Okay.
And I have the same problem that she has, and I've been diagnosed with severe sleep apnea.
Okay.
And they give you this CPAP or whatever. You got to wear this mask. And I come to find out that it's a lot of people that have that same problem. Mm-hmm. And there is from what I understand, there is no cure for it. Mine started it's been going on maybe about 6 months. And I've been back and forth to the emergency room for heart palpitations because that comes along with it. Because when you don't sleep, you don't rest, and your mind is, it's not a good feeling. So I can understand where she's coming from, but it's a lot of people suffering from this. So I don't know if maybe you could do a little more research on who all suffers from this can't sleep stuff, because it's real. And my sister and I, we kind of was thinking that either it may be something in the air. I agree with you about what you eat too. That has something to do with it, but it's real. This not sleeping is real, and I just wanted to throw that in there because, and I like what you said about that radicalness. Do something radical, because that's basically what I do. I do some radical stuff, and one of the main things that I do that helps me along is prayer. So. I mean, I don't know if there's a such thing as radically pray, but I do, and I'm working with that also, and I think it's a lot of other people working with that, and I'll just hang up and
well, no, don't hang up.
To listen.
Don't hang up. I want to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
They're going to be personal. You okay with that?
It's fine, because I want to share, because I know other people is going through this, and it may help me and it may help them. I don't have a problem with sharing.
Okay. Let me say this first. Is as a coach, my job is to ask the question. And it's not about being nice. It's not about how you feel. It's about really asking the question that shifts your awareness. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So, my first question is, and this is, yes, this is a no for coaching, but it just helps me understand who I'm working with. My first question is on a scale. Well, I can make it not a yes or no question. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being your health is completely out, 10 being you are in impeccable health, where would you place yourself on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, I would be a 1 because I'm on dialysis. So
okay, all right,
yeah,
all right.
I would definitely be probably a 1.
Okay, so
I wouldn't say a 1. I wouldn't say a 1 because I'm functioning, I'm moving around, and so I wouldn't say a 1, but I'm definitely not a 10. I got health issues.
Okay. Are you at your ideal weight for your size, your height?
Yes. I lost in the past year. I've lost 40 pounds.
Okay, so you've recently lost weight.
Yeah, I recently lost weight. Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's got to be some part good because I went from a size, just say 240 to 200.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But you're currently 200 pounds.
Yeah, 199, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
How tall are you?
5'6".
Okay. So you're still overweight then.
I'm still overweight, believe it or not. And people telling me,
Yeah.
"Oh, you losing too much weight," and I'm like, "We not supposed to have all that weight on us anyway."
Yeah.
And you hit it on the head, but okay, I'm listening.
Okay. So I'm asking you some fundamental. By the way, I'm not a doctor, but
I know. Okay.
Okay, but I read a lot and I got common sense. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. So one, like if you are tired of not resting, then consider that your weight loss journey is not over. Like, kill what other people got to say. It's about you and how you feel. All right? That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I'm very curious about diet and exercise. And so when I talked about radical change, like when there's something that you want, and it sounds like restful sleep.
Yep.
Then my question to you, Vanetta, is how bad do you want to be able to sleep? Like sleep well. Like how
bad.
And if you want it that bad, are you willing then to actually say no to certain foods and to actually shift up the level of exercise you get starting today?
I'm definitely willing, yeah, and that's been in the back of my mind. Sometimes I'll be a little tired from the treatment, but yes, I'm willing. Anything that's going to help me.
So that is like, again, when you're like, hey, I suffer from this sleep thing, and I get that. I mean, I don't know the number on Americans, but I'm sure it's high, the number of Americans who aren't getting restful sleep.
It's high.
Yeah, I'm sure it's high. And so just think about that, right? I started the show saying that most of us have our heads in the sand. If you're not getting adequate sleep, your brain is not functioning at the level that it can function.
That's right.
Like, period. So you're not at your best. And so what I hear you saying is, Linnell, I want to be at my best. And what that requires from you, Vanetta, is a vision of what that looks like. By the end of 2024, can you see in your mind a woman that is at the ideal weight she should be at, that can rest all night and can walk? I don't know how long you can walk now, but let's say can walk 2 or 3 miles on a daily basis. Like, can you see that in your mind? And I'm giving you an idea of what a vision might look like. Okay.
I can see. I'm gonna put it like this. I can see doing much better than what I'm doing, and I can see walking. I don't know about the 2 or 3 miles, but
okay,
I can see doing better because I don't walk at all right now. So
okay, so then it could be, you know what? I'm gonna walk up and down my block, and then I'm gonna sit down. And then when I can walk up and down the block, okay, I'm gonna walk 2 blocks and sit down. But what I'm pointing to is something radically different than how it is today.
Right.
Right. And of course, do this with the permission of your physician. You know, like, hey, I'm ready. I'm ready.
I'm sure they're not going to have any problem with me walking. It's just that I'm so tired of them telling me, look, ma'am, we done did every test we can find to do on you. We cannot find anything wrong with you, you know.
well,
and I'm like, well.
Right, but
Okay,
Vanetta, that's what I mean when I say I read a lot and I got common sense, right? I don't have an MD. But what I read and then what I deduct with my deductive reasoning that the Creator has given me from what I read is that if you are overweight and not exercising, that likely is the reason you don't sleep well.
Okay.
You get where I'm going?
I got it, yeah.
So while they say we don't have an answer, what I'm telling you is there are answers.
Right.
And it is up to you to go find those answers. So maybe the other piece is watching a documentary of people who've gone through what you've gone through and how they've overcome it. I'm sure there's something out there for it.
Okay.
You get where I'm going?
I got you. And I'm going to reach back out to you later down the line and let you know how it works out, because I'm definitely going to try.
But start with this, Vanetta. Like, start with where you intend to be by the end of this year. And let me tell you something powerful about radical action. If you commit to this action, now you heard me talk to Rebecca, resistance is going to show up, right? This will be, you'll wake up tomorrow like, I'm going to do, I talked to Linnell, I'm going to do what we talked about, and then your knee start hurting, right? It's like, you're like, oh, I can't do it. It's like, something's going to show up. I don't know what it is, but because it typically is what gets in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever normally gets in the way, anticipate it.
And then when I go to the grocery store, I'm not going to fool with that. By the way, I'm 69, too. So when I go to the grocery store, I'm not going to fool with that that little cart you drive around. I'm just going to go ahead and walk. That is you making a shift right there.
Yeah. And you know what? You might be tired by the time you get back in the car and get home.
Right.
But guess what? You did something different.
Yes.
You did something different. And then the next time you go, you do something different. And there will become a time, maybe by, August, September, where you can grocery shop and you feel fine when you get home.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you, and I like the fact that even though this wasn't your subject, you took it on. You know what I'm saying? And I remember when I was going to school, I was taking a income tax class with H&R Block, and I had an instructor, nice instructor, and she told me after we finished the courses, we were, kind of doing our own little thing. And I called her one day because somebody had given me a tax return that I really didn't know how to do, but they had taught us how to do it. So I called my instructor, and I told my instructor I'm thinking about giving the person back their paperwork because I don't think. And she told me don't ever be afraid. And she told me take that return.
That's right.
Do it, and I did. And I'm not going in all the details, but a lot of times we think we can't do something, but we really can. And a person can be. Yeah, and you've been an inspiration to me, and I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And let me tell you, the biggest inspiration that you can gain is from you. Set that vision, Vanetta. See yourself. If you can see it in your mind, if you can see yourself functioning different, if you can see yourself, if you can see yourself walking a mile, you can do it. I'm not saying this moment, but by the end of this year, you can do it.
No, I can see it.
Okay, and if you can see it and you and what comes with that, how the feeling goes and what it feels like to take a walk like that and then lay down that evening and sleep a restful sleep and wake up energized the next day, like if you can see that in your mind, it will activate what you need to take the radical action to make it possible.
What I did want to ask about her question was, how do you differentiate resistance that's telling you not to do something in terms of a gut feeling that you get that you can't explain versus the resistance of not changing your life.
Mm-hmm.
Let me give you an example.
Yes, I can.
I was going to sell a property.
Okay.
And I never have a problem getting to sleep, just generally speaking, because I'm probably constantly tired. This particular instance, I was really getting ready to sign this contract.
Yeah.
And I had 1,000,001 questions. All the questions were being answered, but they weren't in writing. Things that I was told in terms of how the transaction would go. When I'm looking at the contract, I'm like, where's A, B, and C, and D? And it's like, oh, well, let me add the addendum. I couldn't sleep for nothing in the world. And I said, this is something, because I'm never not able to sleep. Even if I do have a question about a situation, but I'm never not able to sleep.
Okay.
And that, for me personally, weighed on me, because I said, this is unusual for me. This is not normal. Now, her problem is she has a problem sleeping. That is her problem.
Anyway. Yep.
Right. But it kind of also seemed like it fed into her seeing him. But, I'm not 100%.
From what I heard from her is that this is an ongoing thing. And so that's why I was like, then you have to anticipate it. Right.
Yeah, so I guess maybe that's what it is, but I kind of detected that it might have been hesitance as well. But like I said, how do you differentiate hesitance as in your gut's telling you this isn't a good idea even though you want to do it, versus the resistance of, if you change, our life is going to be different, and we don't want to change. We want to stay just like this.
Right. So here's the first way to navigate, like to know resistance versus a gut instinct. And by the way, you have to be, I want to be very clear about this. You have to be practiced. Because I believe many of us get gut instincts that we run right through.
I agree.
You meet, I'm talking to the single ladies right now. You meet somebody, your gut says, don't go out with him.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the thing. Notice the gut will tell you and will hold you, but typically there's no real level of resistance to you showing up other than something that you feel. There's no resistance to you showing up. All right. So that's one way to distinguish it. But let me be very, very clear. I want to be very clear so you get this. I think it's a phenomenal question. OK. When it's a matter of the gut, typically it's something you already know how to do. It's not brand new. It's likely something you've done before. I'm guessing that when it comes to closing on a house or purchasing a home or whatever it was that was going on here, it's not your first time.
No.
Okay.
I was already a homeowner, and I was also a loan officer. So
there you go. So this is something you've done many, many times, right? I'm going to give you an example. I get up every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for the most part, to go to the gym at 5 a.m. in the morning. Right now, when I first started that, I was navigating resistance. Okay. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just listening.
Okay. When I first started that, I was navigating resistance. However, I've been doing that now for almost 8 years. So when the morning of January 10th, I had a gut instinct that I shouldn't play. It was a gut instinct. And I told myself it was resistance. And I went and played, and I injured myself. Okay.
Yeah.
At that point, resistance doesn't show up for me when I wake up in the morning to go to the gym. So I probably should have paid attention to it. Like, why am I having this feeling that I shouldn't play today?
Right. I'm being lazy. I'm not lazy.
I'm not a lazy person. I get up all the time at 5 a.m. I was actually up, and then I even got to the gym, and I was like, you probably shouldn't get on that court this morning. And then just that morning, they only had 8 people. I was one of the 8, and they wouldn't be able to play unless I played. That morning, right? And I was already thinking like, if they got enough people, I'm probably going, I don't feel right. Like my leg didn't feel right. It was a gut instinct, like, don't get on that court. I got on the court. I went down. Okay. That's that's how we distinguish the difference, right? If you've closed on homes before, you've done all those things, something in your guts like this deal doesn't feel right, I would pay attention to that.
Okay.
All right. Resistance shows up when when I create an intent that is brand new.
Okay.
You get where I'm going?
Mm-hmm.
I create an intent or goal that is brand new. And now this brand new intent or goal, I'm noticing all this stuff getting in the way. That's resistance. That's not your gut telling you. Let me give you a real life example. So years ago, this is 2019, I was taking some folks to Ghana. And one of the people that was going on the trip to Ghana, she was having a hard time with her passport. She finally got everything situated with her passport. And then the day that she was supposed to pass it to us so we could, send it to the Ghanaian embassy so she can get a visa, she lost it. And she said, you know what? These are all the signs I shouldn't go.
Mm-hmm.
No. That's not how resistance works. You get where I'm going? These are all the signs that you should go. You see the difference?
I probably would have said the same thing. Like if she had all this difficulty and then she lost it, I would look to say I shouldn't go. Because why am I having a problem at every step and stage of the process?
Because whenever you set a powerful intent that's going to transform your life, resistance is going to show up in the way that best gets you not to do it. This is 2019. There was no COVID. There was no nothing, nothing going on. Ghana's politically stable. There was no news. Yeah. You get where I'm going?
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing that you could be like,
was normal.
Maybe I shouldn't, right? It was just, this is not going smoothly for me. So maybe it's a sign that I shouldn't do it. And what I tell clients all the time, when you set an intent and it's not going smoothly for you, it's exactly what you're supposed to do.
So question, one thing that you did say.
Yep.
In your own example, and I want to say, I think you said it to me as well.
Okay.
You're hearing something in your head like, no, don't do it.
It wasn't in my head. It was in my gut. In my gut, my translation of it was in my head. But I felt something in my spirit, in my gut, whatever you want to call it, that was like,
right. Basically that.
Yes.
Basically that.
It's different.
You have this feeling.
Yes.
As opposed to, I can't find my gym shoe. Oh, my favorite sock just ripped in half, or you're differentiating that versus communication that you're feeling within your system.
Right. This is something you know how to do. Like what I'm hearing is you are feeling something about a transaction that you have made before and you've made many times.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I would say then, pay attention to that. Get curious about that. Ask questions about that. Pray about that.
Yeah.
You get where I'm going?
All of which was done, and it culminated with I didn't do it. Because I'm just
good.
like, why do we have to addendum everything that's beneficial for me and everything that's beneficial for you is already there, boilerplate?
There you go. Right? But what I'm saying to you, Susan, is if you told me, Linnell, I'm going to Ghana with you October 3rd of 2024, and then you started having problems with your passport, you lost it, you misplaced it, we supposed to meet, you couldn't get there. Susan, you got to do everything you need to do to get to Ghana now. There's something's going on here. Like you get where I'm going?
It's funny because my first cruise, this is exactly what happened with my first cruise.
Did you make it? Did you give up?
No, I didn't. It's just so funny. My birth certificate that had been used to get into every school that I ever went to suddenly became invalid because not only was it a photocopy, but it wasn't stamped. So then I had to send away. I was born in California, so I had to send away for it. Yeah. That was going to take forever and 50 days. Oh, what's your expedited time after the cruise starts? Okay, what's my other option? A third-party business. Okay, I got to go to them. I got to find one. You know what I'm saying?
But
it was thing after thing after thing after thing. It was just like, why is it I've been doing this my whole entire life?
And you did it, didn't you?
Yeah, I did, because I had to pay through the nose, though. I had to pay, expedited processing, expedited shipping, expedited with, the passport, with the feds.
Can I ask you a question, Susan?
Yeah.
Have you ever asked yourself why you were willing to go to that extent for your vacation, but maybe not the same level of radical action for other things you want in life?
Well, I have done that radical action for other things in life, but not everything. No, not everything.
But I'm guessing that's some. Yeah, that's what I mean, come on, I can say the same thing, but then there's certain things where I'm like,
yeah,
right, yeah, right.
Some important things, not with other important things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes I can be a beast, and sometimes I'm just schlep rock. So.
You want to know the difference between when you're a beast and when you're not?
Yeah.
The difference is you could see yourself on the cruise. You had a vision for what you were fighting for. Mm-hmm. And when you have a vision for what you're fighting for, your level of discipline increases.
Yeah.
So anything else in your life that you're not fighting for the same is because you can't see it.
Yeah. I don't really think I can get that done. So what am I doing this for anyway?
There you go. But if you can see it, you will take the same level of radical action. Hire who you need to hire, fire who you need to fire, spend what you need to spend. I'm telling you, that is the differentiator in terms of what we do and what we don't. That's why I told Vanetta, you got to see it.
Your vision.
You got to see it. The reason we fight for the vacations that we take the way that we do, because many times we got to fight for them, is because we can see ourselves on the beach. We can.
I was going to interrupt you to say on the beach. Yeah.
We can see ourselves with the Mai Tai. We can see it, so we fight for it. And one of the reasons most people aren't fighting for their goals is because they can't see themselves in possession of. Mm-hmm. Did that support you?
Oh, totally.
All right.
Yes, good morning, Janelle. Yeah, I want to thank you. I was saying that right at the beginning, I believe you pretty much kind of had my answer about the radical force. Mm-hmm. I look at resistance as positive and negative, and resistance is the negativity that exists out here in the world all the time, and I kind of believe that we've been indoctrinated with so much.
Okay, let me pause you real quick.
Power and positiveness to overcome that negative and see us in that positive position.
Yeah, hold on, Mike. Hold on. I want to be careful labeling resistance as negative. Can I give you an example and a reason why? You still there, Mike?
Yeah.
Let me give you a reason why, okay? When I think about my life personally, if I hadn't navigated the resistance that was in front of me to push, to develop the habits, to develop the strengths, to utilize the talents that I currently have, then that resistance is the reason why I can sit in this seat and answer these questions. So I wouldn't call that negative. What I would say is the resistance, I think we should think of resistance as part of the refinement process that creates who it is that we intend to be. So resistance is almost like it's a partner in our transformation. It has to show up, and it shows up for each of us differently because it is exactly what it is that you need to become who you're supposed to be. So I don't see resistance as something negative. I see it as a refining force. Like when you think about gold, gold is, like when you pull it out the ground, it's like, it's got dirt on it. It's, it's not a completely refined and clean ore, right? And so in order for them to refine it, they have to put in really hot fire. And then they begin to separate the gold from any other metal that might be on it, from the rock, from the dirt. All those things become separated. And after it's gone through the fire, then they can pour that gold that is, now a liquid into the cubes, the bricks that we see, into something that now it's refined. It's 100% pure. But in order for that gold bar to exist, it had to go through a refining process. When I think about us as human beings, like at our rawest state, we are gold. And part of what this life process, I believe the Creator puts us through this life process where we navigate resistance so we can go through the refinement process so we can become the pure potential that He created us to be. And different ones of us, we're in different places, right? Like, some of us, we've gone through lots of trauma, so we might be that gold that needs just a bit more fire. Okay. Many of us, we've had, different pains and ills, and maybe I got to, my family, we didn't focus on health. And so now I got to navigate that. Like I have to go through a different fire to become the pure gold. But all of us have gold. And the resistance, that refinement process, is what pulls the gold to the surface so we can be who we're supposed to be. So that's why I had to pause you, because when you say, well, resistance is negative, like I don't want us to think of it that way. Resistance is nothing more than a refinement process. And if I don't navigate it today, in order for me to become the gold that the Creator intends for me to become, I'm going to have to navigate it eventually. So I can kick the can down the road and die less than I was supposed to be, not because I'm less than, but because I didn't do the work. Or I can navigate the resistance. I can lean into it. I can invite it. Oh, there you are. Hello. Thank you for showing up, because that resistance, you are how I become who I'm supposed to become. I appreciate you actually pointing this out, Mike. Like part of what takes vision to the next level is the visualization process, where when you see it, you also create like seeing it in your mind creates the emotional feeling of having it. And that's what he's saying is really, really good, because part of that emotional piece of having it, like your emotions are energy in motion. So the combination of what you see with the feeling is how you manifest. So that's really, really good. And I said that fast. I hope y'all just got that. Like the combination of seeing and feeling what it's like to accomplish what you see is how you create manifestation. Like now we got to add action, right? Because hopefully if you see it and you feel it, then you're acting, right? So it goes back to that be, do, have. I am being what I see because I can see and I can feel it, right? And then I'm doing what needs to be done based on what I see and feel. And if I do what needs to be done based on what I see and feel, I'll have it. Be, do, have.
Good morning, Linnell. I was wondering, is it possible for you to suggest some books that we can kind of get into to understand the different philosophies that you're suggesting for changing and making a change in our life? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of these are new concepts, and we need to know what they are and be able to refer to something that kind of outline them for us.
Yeah.
And I think the more of us, especially black people who are in this mode of thinking, can get more accomplished out here as a group. And I think that's what we need to concentrate on, since this system is telling us by 2050, we will not have anything as a group of black people.
Yeah.
We got to get on the case with what we need to do as a group. We got to start working individually for those goals, financially, mentally, physically. We got a whole world that we've got to change, because we're at the bottom of the ladder in this country, and they, I believe, have plans to make it even worse for us. So we got to speed up on our thinking, our acting, on what we need to do to change this. No one else is going to change it but us as black people, and we need to come from that perspective that we have great powers, but we've always used them to help other people. We've got to use those same powers and change our situation financially, health-wise, emotionally, and every other kind of way, because we've been told for 400 years we're less than. We got to change that mindset, because we do have that floating among us. So what books can you suggest that we can refer to kind of get us as a group to start thinking in this direction that you're referring to?
Yep, I'm gonna give you three. Okay. The first one is Think and Grow Rich: A Black Choice by Dennis Kimbro.
Okay.
All right. African American brother who wrote the book, and that book is based on Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
What was that? African American what?
Dennis Kimbro. Dennis Kimbro is an African American author, right? And so he wrote Think and Grow Rich: A Black Choice to support African Americans with individuals like us, because Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill points to people who aren't like us, right?
Okay.
I think that's a great book too, by the way. Okay. But since you said for our community, I would say Think and Grow Rich: A Black Choice by Dennis Kimbro, where he uses people in our community, because sometimes we like, oh, they did it, but I can't. It's like, no, people looks just like you did this in our community. Okay. That's the first book.
Okay.
The second book is Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz.
Maxwell Maltz.
Yep, M-A-L-T-Z. Maltz.
M-A-L-T-Z?
T-Z, that's right. Okay, Dr. Maxwell Maltz.
And that was, what was the name of the title again?
Psycho-Cybernetics. I'm actually putting these in the Facebook stream. I probably should put them in the YouTube stream too. Let me see here. How we doing on YouTube? I'll put them in the YouTube stream as well for those who are watching. Okay. So Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz. Now, what Dennis Kimbro talks about in alignment with Napoleon Hill for Think and Grow Rich is how to get your mind right. That's first and foremost, right? And why getting your mind right is so powerful, because if you are thinking properly, then you can actually think yourself to wealth. And it seems like a cliche title, but when I tell you read the book and it's like something will pop, I got a mentee right now reading it. And the last time I saw him, he just had this look on his face like, bro, like, you know, like, I get it now. Like something clicked, okay? Now, it's not one of those reads like a fiction book. Take your time, answer the questions, etc. Psycho-Cybernetics by Dr. Maxwell Maltz then begins to show you how to set goals and where you get stuck with the goal-setting process, okay? All right. And then the third is The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. And this will teach you...
What was that, The War?
The War of Art.
A-R-T?
A-R-T, that's right.
And who is it by?
By Steven Pressfield.
Steven, and what's that last name again?
Pressfield. P-R-E-S-S-F-I-E-L-D. Steven Pressfield.
Okay.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a phenomenal question. I'm so happy you called and asked. Thank you for watching Inspirational Perspective. If you love this show and you want to see more content like this, you can go right here. And if you like this subject and you want to see much more content that we have available for you, just click the button here. As always, thanks for watching. Be sure to watch the show live, 7 a.m. every Sunday morning on WBON Radio or you can catch it right here on YouTube or facebook.com/Coach Linnell Harris. Be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe so we can get more content just like this to you.